What are your thoughts on how to train leaders to tap into that authenticity, to get more of that in their lives?
I have this saying: if you're not training yourself, someone else is training you.
Mm.
Right. And so inertia, if you're not training your body, inertia is training it. It's basically dysregulating it, and it's going to send it south quickly. And if you're not training your mind, then your mind is being trained by society, culture, TV, social media, the people who are trying to shape your mind literally to their needs. And so it's very, very important that you train your mind relentlessly every day. But it doesn't have to be hard. Neither does physical training. This is another thing. I'll get back to your question. None of this, like the idea of NAR country, doesn't have to be gnarly. It actually is quite fun. And that's part of, getting back to authenticity, is to, when you can get clear around what your purpose is, right? And for me, purpose is never about doing, it's about being. It's an archetypal energy, right? And it also might be tied to some of the conditions for either how you either randomly showed up in this world, or whether your belief is that you chose this life, right? There's two ways to find them. One is to have someone point them out to you, and the other is to just sit and watch your life and say and ask, what is the energy of my life? What are the big rocks? Right? And take a look at those, and don't run from them, but pull them right out and put them in front of you and say, all right, sucker, I'm going to go after you. I'm going to solve this once and for all. And how do I solve it? Well, you got to build some courage. How do you build courage? You got to starve the fear. How do you starve fear? You stare at that problem and you inch your way toward it, right? You set up some goals. You say, I'm going to overcome this. If I'm going to learn how to parachute, free fall parachute, then I'm not going to just throw a parachute on my back and go up and jump out of an airplane, right? You talk about crawl, walk, run, Stephen. We do that in the SEALs all the time. That's like going from zero to sprint. You don't do that. Not only is it terrifying, you'll probably kill yourself. So what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what's the smallest arc toward that thing which scares the shit out of me, and I'm going to go learn that. I'm going to find the book. I'm going to find the person. I'm going to watch the videos, and I'm going to set the goal just to do that one tiny thing. And we had a saying in the SEALs: doubt's eliminated through action. So you take that action, your doubt is eliminated, fear is eradicated because you've turned away and you moved courageously toward overcoming just that small thing. Every day you do this, so you're going to be showing up as more authentic to your team. Because after all, that's what authenticity is. It's like you're showing up as more whole. You're taking the mask off. You're showing up with your team, not claiming the perfect person or the absolute authority. You're showing up as a human being with all of its flaws and all the realizations that you're the same as everyone else. You just happen to have leader role for today. And that develops great trust.
Mark raised a point saying, hey, this doesn't have to be hard work. And in fact, the argument that I make is you want a deliberate play, not a practice approach to learning. Yeah. Deliberate practice is repetition with incremental advancement, right? Both Mark and I agree that you want to go 1 inch at a time. You want to go slow, one doubt at a time, but we're both in total agreement on that. But deliberate practice is great for learning certain kind of skills. And even if there's a big, hard skill that you're learning, there may be 1 or 2 elements where you want a deliberate practice approach, where you're like, okay, this is the really scary thing, so I'm going to do it over and over and over again to get it perfect. But general deliberate play, which is repetition without repetition, or repetition with improvisation. Do the same thing you just did, and you improvise in a fun, interesting, curious, exploratory way on top of it, just a little bit. But what's cool about that approach is we know from a tremendous amount of research, and I think this sort of aligns with Mark's archetypal ideas, that we have authentic play styles, and it emerges organically, right? Deliberate practice, there's only one right answer. I did the thing I did last time and just moved it a little. I did, like, that's the one right answer. With deliberate play, there's only one wrong answer, which is I did the same thing I did last time. Everything else is a right answer. And that's interesting because when we get things right in that way, we get little bursts of dopamine, and that's motivation and momentum, and incredibly useful, and it feeds on itself.